we'll see how this goes, because hopefully this works better. Well, let me know when you guys see this. Hopefully, it should just kaput and start it up. Woohoo! Let's see if it stays like this. Why is it not letting me do the thing? Weird. Anyway, we are in Portland, Maine. Yep, it is looking a lot better. Except for the game itself loading. But hopefully this is looking a lot better for you guys. Well, let's go find a new place.
They don't come every year, you know. The old man is sitting at the edge of a rotting old pier, crooked legs dangling over the water. He watches a pair of seagulls preen and groom each other on a rock just off the shore. Just when the fishing is going to be good. He taps great, black, thick globs of spent tobacco out of a huge ceramic pipe. I got another year, I guess. Another year of this town being here, he replies, letting a grin spread across his face. If the seagulls came, that means enough fish to keep it in place.
I mean, that seems pretty reasonable. That, there's this guy watching the seagulls, and if the seagulls are there, there's enough fish. We'll see what happens to that story maybe eventually. Hopefully we can get to at least round 2. The song we're hearing right now is one of the character themes. It's specifically because we are in sight of that glowy thing in the distance, we are getting this sound. We'll go there soon. We need a couple more stories.
The woman walks the small town square with the poise of Betty Davis.
But yes, he is
a
great.
Confident stride and inimitable mannerisms elevating the sidewalk into a plush Hollywood carpet. And wrapped around her neck, a yellow velvet ribbon, bright as an ocean sunrise. You question a well-dressed man parked outside an oyster house. Prudish woman. I took her on a fine date and she didn't remove so much as a ribbon. Excuse me, can you step back from the coupe? That's the spirit. You decide to seek a second opinion. You talk with a waitress smoking outside a diner. Something funny about her. Just showed up one day. Doesn't work, doesn't live anywhere as far as I know. Just around. Myself, I'd love to know who made all her beautiful clothes.
She's looking suspicious AF. Let's go ask her.
You ask the woman if you may join her at a public bench. You may. Lovely outside, isn't it? Her eyes are a beautiful shade of brown. Beneath the yellow ribbon, a thick, fibrous scar wraps around her throat. Weather like this, it reminds me of Paris.
So, since I chose to actually talk to her, this turned into a horror story, as you can see by the screaming face in the bottom icon. That'll be a different thing, which determines where it gets cataloged in our list of stories. So yeah, she got something. She got something. Oh, Leander, good to see you. As always, I'm kind of sorry the insomnia is there, but welcome to this great jam.
And you don't relish the thought of being caught wandering this rocky seaside
Mostly tech
road
issues.
in the rain. Fortunately, you
We
find the lighthouse
had a
door
whole lot of tech
with a
issues,
daunting staircase
just
before
where the
you.
game and the stream were not on the same page. But we restarted both of them, and it fixed everything. So this is where the water tastes like wine. For the sake of the VOD, this is a game called Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. It is where we, a skeleton hobo, wander around the US swapping stories on the orders of a direwolf, voiced by... Chat didn't guess it, so I'll just give it. Sting, the singer. Lord knows how gentlemen got him, but yeah, Sting voices the direwolf and is telling us to go around the US and try and collect stories of various people who fell through the cracks of society. Anyway, let's go meet this adorable,
wrought iron
absolutely
spiral,
adorable story.
You're breathless and feeling the strain on your knees. Rain already batters the walls outside. You can only knock on a heavy wooden door leading into the upper level. Muffled voices and light seep in beneath the door. Looks like we got a visitor. Sounds like a man's voice, deep and rough.
Well, behave yourself. I'll open the door.
Another man, this one with a higher, more sonorous voice. I always behave myself. He feigns indignation, but his tone betrays affection instead.
These two are adorable.
After a moment, the door unlatches
and there's a reason this is a heart.
And opens. The man before you is tall and muscular, with a hint of a paunch beneath his wide chest. The heavy iron knob on the door looks nearly dainty in his huge hand.
Didn't want to be out in this rain, did you? Come in.
Despite the rough exterior, this room looks like a well-appointed parlor. There's a rug on the well-trod wooden floor, and an enormously plush couch. And sat upon it is a stocky fellow grinning through a great hazel-colored beard. Tea? He offers, hoisting a teapot.
Let's keep it as a heart instead of the sun. So, lovers we go.
Oh, we manage.
The tall one sits on the sofa, casually wrapping an arm around the other lighthouse keeper.
Look
The
at
quiet
that.
suits us just fine.
He needs his quiet time. He's a writer. The tall one grunts.
I dabble. But you must have some good stories from the road.
You wake up the next morning on their old sofa, still warm from an excess of tea. And cakes? There might have been little cakes. Prodigious snoring rumbles in from the floor above you, and you quietly take your leave.
So, there we go. We just met the best cute gay lighthouse keepers in Maine, and oh boy, we have some graphics issues. We'll just pretend they don't exist. It's a cloud. It's totally just a cloud, guys. Actually, I think it is a cloud, and it's just the graphics are so low for performance reasons, but it's doing weird things. So, the lag you're seeing here is actually just in the game. The performance issues of this are not necessarily amazing. But hopefully the Epic Games version has fixed a little bit of that, since it's got the DLC, so there's a big patch
A
attached
dusty
to it.
truck and a man on horseback pull up next to one another in front of the grocer. Suddenly, the driver and the rider, two wiry old men with identical haircuts, start shrieking at one another. The man with the truck leaps into the street.
Brother!
He shouts. The one on the horse tumbles out of his saddle.
Brother!
He screams.
I-
They embrace in the road.
And another extremely
30
cute thing.
years!
Hollers the driver. The rider, tears streaming down over his face, corrects him.
No! 32!
Everyone here is watching these two older men cry and hug one another in the middle of Main Street. Cars and wagons are backing up. People are yelling.
Take a photo of us!
The driver begs you.
So this one keeps
Starts
expanding.
hauling a tripod out of the bed of his truck. As you usher them onto the sidewalk, the driver says,
Joe, I thought you were dead.
rider freezes.
Joe?
He blurts.
I'm not Joe.
The two men stare at one another, each slowly recognizing something alien in their mistaken brother's face.
So, as we collect stories, these stories, we tell them to the people we can see at the little fireplaces here, which we're gonna go, or campfires, which we're gonna see. There's one way off in the distance over there, and there's one more even farther out. There should also be one over this way somewhere, but I don't see it. Anyway, these people, we tell them the stories, and then they will go and tell the stories to other people, and the stories will change in the telling. And so these brothers that were not brothers will turn into two sets of twins who thought that it was quads and mistake each other, were turned into like 8 people on each side, all thinking they were all related and then realizing they weren't. It's wild. Anyway, let's camp. We've got enough stories. We can camp a little bit, though. No guarantees here. So this is Quinn.
Hey there, stranger. You're welcome to enjoy this fire with me, if you're respectful, that is.
Look, Quinn here.
This here is my spot, and I ain't inclined to share it with any bad characters. You can call me Quinn.
With his 2 little pet pups. He's a
These
wanderer.
here are my venturing companions. Cass is the big un, and the one with the spots is Flip.
They're good dogs. We cannot pet them because we have no hands, but we will
I
try.
usually beat my way on the rails, but the road news said this town was fat, and the weather was fine. So I'm taking in the sights and seeing what I can drum up. Hey, tell me one of those exciting stories.
We need to tell an exciting story. So, here are all the stories we have collected so far. They're organized by subject because the boss likes tarot cards. There's no bigger reason. The Ravens work for the Direwolf. They work for Sting. They are the other members of the police. And so they'll tell us useful information. But if we tell them the right thing, great. But we run out of time, we run out of time. We gotta get the eye all the way open. If you tell them the types of stories they request, you'll gain their trust and the eye will open. When it opens fully, the next time you meet them, they'll open up more about their life. So remember this from conversation to conversation. Don't feel you need to open the eye all the way around the first time you meet someone. Dance around, get to know it. So we got a handful of stories here. Let's see if the Nine of Swords. Nope. Sadness, love. None of these are venturesome. Well, this is the most venturesome, but it's also pretty sad. So we'll see what this count does.
Well, that sure was a downer. Give
That
me
was
a
a sad
good
one.
venture tale
Yep.
instead any day. My family. There ain't no way I'm gonna start jaw flapping about those bastards. Judases, the lot of them. Enough said. I want to hear one of them venturing tales. Got any?
You are so... I don't have any great adventures. This one's funny, but it's not an adventure.
That was a chuckle to be sure. But do you know anything more lively?
Yeah, I don't think we got anything we need. But yeah, these campfire guys, there are 16 of them who wander around different parts of the US. And we gotta collect all of them in 3 acts, getting the eyes fully open each time. And then things
Well,
happen.
I don't know a whole lot
But
about
yeah,
the
these
past,
are
but
these are our quest characters.
they say there's an Injun grave around these parts. Say it's haunted and full up with angry spirits. I used to love hearing stories of cowboys and Injuns fighting it up. Would swap tales with the youngins. But, well, I suppose if someone shot me, I'd be pretty vengeful too.
Pretty understandable.
Hey, do you got any really thrilling stories to tell? I'm
Nope.
hankering for one of those.
I have nothing thrilling. I have not had any experiences except tech issues. I'm sorry, I have nothing to tell you. I am going to go through all of the ones we have, just so that they get out into the world, so I can get them a little bit better. But Quinn, each of them has a different
Ain't
preference to
life got
stories,
enough tearjerkers in it without telling stories like that? Jeez.
and depending on which tarot you use, it'll tell them something different about themselves.
Sad. Well, so you think just 'cause I'm young, I gotta be sad, crying after my mama every night. I don't need you looking after me, so if you're offering, don't. And I thought I told you to be respectful. What you really ought to be asking yourself is if you want to keep enjoying my spot or not.
Quinn's scary, by the way.
For something real.
Really funny? God dang it. I used my only funny one. I used my only funny one already.
What's the use in telling sweet happy tales if in they make you snooze?
That's fair.
What's my future look like? I ain't looking for a traveling companion if that's what you mean. I do
No,
fine
that's
by
not what we
myself,
mean,
so
Quinn.
just stick to minding your own.
Yeah, I do not remember most of these guys' full stories, but I mean, Quinn ran away from home
Hey,
and
tell me
runs
one of
around
those
being a
exciting
pickpocket.
stories.
He's kind of terrifying in his true form, because of course everyone has true story, and it's kind of an inner form
I don't
related
get too
to
much out of
what
tales
the
that are so
direwolf likes to
cheerful.
see.
Not enough excitement for me. Love stories. Huh. Folks sure seem to be eat up with the notions of love. Singing and talking about it all the damn time.
Yep.
I'm not sure I see the appeal myself. Well, night's over. I think I'll see
So
what's
he's
happening up
gonna
the road
wander
this
down
way.
to the border of Delaware and Maryland. And if we need to find him, that's where
Didn't
we'll go.
understand all your stories, but I'd gladly listen to more if I see you again. The tramping life suits me just fine.
And yeah.
Every day's adventure.
He's a tramp, he's trying to get adventured,
With
and
things
off we
being
go.
so depressed, folks walk around like it's the end of everything good. But it
And
ain't.
yep. I'm pretty sure he's from the Great Depression, so he's from the 1930s.
Plenty nice things to see if and you know where to look.
In which there's a really strong image of people wandering. And by wandering, they go off, much as we do, by hopping on rails and going and seeing where they end up.
Low tide on a moonless night. This beach is long, stretching toward a receding sea. In the darkness, the sand seems coarse and gray, alien. The stars are dim and distant. It outshines the stars with its presence, a streak of sickly colored light, leaving a trail of distorted fire. It slowly creeps along the sky like a vast worm, but you know that, given the distance, it must be moving at great speed.
Some kind of weird freaking thing. So we can either look back at the shore, or we can keep looking at the sky. I think we should keep looking at the sky. I don't want to take my eyes off of this in case it decides to yoink us.
Its parabola heads south to north. In the far distance, just for a second, a boardwalk town is engulfed in light. With a rumble, its street lamps and windows dim, then go dark. All that you can see emanating from there is an otherworldly color that you can't quite name.
Well, Lovecraft and the, what was it, Color Out of Space are very happy right now. So, there we go, we can see there's three more stories down that way. Or if I head back, actually I'll head back to Boston. Because Boston's got a few things. Boston. So we can either explore, we can earn money, or we can go to the store. So we have no money, but we are full up on life and we are full up on rest. It is possible to run out of, if you run out of health, or if you run out of rest, it starts taking out of your health. If you run out of your health, you die and you go and see Direwolf again. I'm gonna try and do that by the end, but it's actually quite hard to die in this game. So I'll try by the end of this. So since the VOD got broken up, I'm going to try and die so we can talk to Direwolf at the end of the stream.
This city is like no other you've been to. Crooked streets splay out in a maze of narrow passages, no two alike. Soon, you find yourself in twilight, utterly lost. Bright light crests around one corner, a car approaching.
I think we need a moon story, so let's have that.
Compelled by the cold and foreboding night, you don't question it as you drag your bones into the cab.
Uh-oh.
But you realize immediately
We did
how
something
strange
spooky.
the vehicle is. It's a sleek thing, like a shallow parabola gliding over the street. Where to? He asks. You have to stop and think. Eventually, you name Boston Common,
We
the
are a
only
skeleton,
landmark you
so
know in this town.
you're correct,
It
but
peels
dying
off
doesn't actually kill us.
silently. You feel the car move before you hear the engine.
It's true, I walked all over Boston a few years
He
ago
takes you
because my
through
brother
ever
went to school
odder
there,
streets,
and it is a
flanked
mess
by
of city
painfully
design.
clean, gleaming buildings, and signage for businesses you don't recognize.
Also, we time traveled?
Even the air seems
Question
different.
mark?
It doesn't smell so sharply of gasoline and coal.
Because it sounds a lot
Eventually,
more like
You come to a stop.
modern Boston than it does the city as it was a century ago.
The fare's in glowing numbers above his dashboard. It's much too high. Surely a mistake. No charge, he insists. You look like you need a break. And then you find yourself on the curb at Boston Common, under thick moonlight, in a city much as you'd left it before.
Spooky. The odd silent taxi cab. Well, let's try and earn some money. Digging holes. Again, this is like vaguely Depression era, where, you know, day laborers are needed, but this is also something very true through much of 19th and 20th century America, where immigrant labor or poor labor, those two often overlap quite heavily, would be pretty much day to day, and careers, up until actually quite recently, are kind of a little bit unthinkable. But, well, chat, I hope you can figure out what they're actually saying here. Is it Dear Lobby, or Dave Hobby, or Dean Bobber? Well, we do get paid for it, so whatever. Whatever we're doing, whatever tragedy this is, one potential, I guess, would be that this particular story takes place in about 1920. Because we're a little bit on the side of time. We'll have stories from all over the place and all over the web in American history. Nothing more recent than World War II, but we're out of time, and so we're trying to find a bunch of stories of people who fell through the cracks and don't get told in the grand narrative of American history. But, you know, so this could be in like 1919 or 1920, and we were burying clue victims. We can also buy things. We can buy a hot apple cider for all of our money, a clam chowder, a Reuben, or a spaghetti plate for a lot more money to heal ourselves up. But we are at full health and full health, so we don't need to do that. We will save our money for a rainy day. Huh. I'm supposed to be able to whistle. I wonder why it doesn't let me whistle. Oh. Actually. There we go. Figured it out. As you walk down the road, a black crow flutters down the line of your path. It looks at you, cocks its head and speaks. Well, you've got a long, long road ahead, don't you? All these people chase down, or so I hear. I got some experience when it comes to chasing folks. So here's our tutorial. Well, if you want, you can go find your friend again. Ask him more about the life. I might want better stories this time, though. Here's that for you. Didn't I tell you where we're headed next? But hey, the world is full of people, but you can find another friend like that if you want to look around. There's more than one interesting person in this land, for sure. It gives a gravelly laugh. And that's what humans say anyway. And with that, it launches into the air and disappears. Doesn't count as a story, but it's a handy tutorial as to what the hell it would do. There we go. Thank you, I am aware. Please bloody whistle. That's how we walk fast, like. Ooh, fancy. I'm going over here because this is a thing. This icon tells me it's a new story. You wait in this soup line for over an hour. It's barely crawling along. You round out the corner of the building and see far away a lone pair of nurses strolling to ladle out soup to hundreds. Gonna be waiting here a while longer, sighs the mother in line beside you. You and her get talking. After a while, the topic drifts into a strange place as she starts telling you about the blessed lighthouse sanctuary where souls in love could find respite. You recognize it as the story about the two lighthouse keepers, but way more outrageous than your version. So, looks like Quinn, after he left us, went down this way and told her a significantly souped up version of this tale. And this is one of the main mechanics of this game. Telling stories causes them to appear in the world again as a quote-unquote improved version. And so there's a lot of backformation going on. So you might start by meeting someone on the road, and then that turns into the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow. Or you might meet a friendly-looking railway operator, and down the line you might find out a big old story about a legendary train operator named Casey Jones. So we're taking real tall tales in many cases, though not always. There's a lot of also made-up stories here. But taking on those tall tales and going up and backforming them to something quote-unquote real, though sometimes it's pretty outrageous on its own.
Passing by. At his back is a bag full of birdseed. He assures you that the gawky birds perching on his body are the last remaining
Like
passengers.
the French woman we met who presumably got guillotined and is a ghost. And that's why she got that thick scar. Her story is going to get pretty outrageous and equally tragic, but you know, even its base version is pretty out there. Definitely not something real. So this actually ends up
They look
avoiding
extinct to
one of
you?
the problems.
You're not sure those dull gray pigeons look anything like the pictures you've seen of passenger pigeons, though you can't help thinking they stare at you a little too intently.
Say, you like
We'll
birds?
finish this story first before
They're
I
lovely
continue that thought.
creatures. Guileless, really. Hunted damn near to extinction, weren't you?
He strokes one of his birds under the chin. You think you see drips of blood flecking the creature's dirty gray head. You sense it's about time you start moving on.
You be kind to the little birds now, you hear?
You hurry along the road, though the flapping of ungainly wings seems to follow you for hours.
This is another one of those stories that, you know, doesn't quite feel real, and so that actually sidesteps a problem you'd see with, like, I complained about in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where you've got, you know, that the story that attempting to find a naturalistic explanation for, instead of just accepting that a story can be a story. And this one does lean into the fact that even its real-ish stories are very much stories. Sometimes they go full-on horror, letting them be actual folk tales to begin with, and then they just become more and more. It's a really interesting way to think about oral traditions. A jet black crow alights on the low branch of a twisted tree. Look at you! Think you got some good stories already? Oh, I heard better. Much better, huh? It seems to wake at you. Want to hear my tricks? The ones you got now, pathetic stuff. You know those stories around and they'll come back more excited, more satisfied. So always listen to the stories that other folks tell. Their tales are less true, sure, but more useful around the campfire. The boss had a point about the true ones, though, the crow admits. They're extra interesting. You learn a couple of folks' true life stories, and everyone will like them, no matter what kind of story they think they want to hear. Well, everyone's captain of their destiny. He gives a burst of laughter. Ain't no bootstraps in the world I can make you know, but the choices you make, they change the kind of story you can tell. It ruffles its feathers, a sordid shrub. Choose wisely, or don't, huh? Thank you, Crow. The crows are tutorials. They're very good at that. But I'm skipping New York, even though New York's got some good stories in it, because of course it does. New York City's full of stories. But, we got a couple of things here. Oh, that's another crow. No, I don't want to hear about trains. I just want to talk about trains, because they want to ride trains, huh? Cars? I got so many opinions about that stuff. I'm not here to listen to stories. Oh. Stop it. There we go. A new place.
The stream is a
Oh,
clear,
good. Jersey Devil.
reflective shade of blue. Unusual in this region, where bog iron colors the river's brown. Across the way,
We just ran into the Jersey
goat
Devil,
with
you know?
great leather wings laps up the water. Its sunken red eyes fixed on your every movement. You now notice the unnatural absence of wildlife. No fish swim in the stream. No birds sing in the trees. The winged goat drinks with a forked tongue, only abstractly concerned with your presence.
Well, should we go say hi to the goat, or should we just kind of drink the water and leave it in peace? God, I love this music so much. Well, this was a very rough start, but hopefully you guys are enjoying the game now that it's finally gone
Over
underway.
the hill, a scorched one-room house lies abandoned, 2 of its 4 walls in ruins. The goat rears up, front hooves curled, and stretches its wings out to their full breadth.
Well, we're committed to it. Let's do it.
The goat opens its mouth and wails, a protracted, shrill sound, indistinguishable from the cry of a human infant.
And
It only begins to stop when you take several steps back. The winged goat doesn't follow. Instead, it lies down inside the burnt house, surrounded by portraits of a large family, glass frames stained brown from smoke.
nope, it cried at us, so we bailed. Cause oh boy, that's spooky. But anyway, Philadelphia isn't a real city, not like New York is. So we got a couple of things here. Firstly, we got why is it? Hello, please stop. I did it. Turn around, please. Apparently, auto walkathon, and I'm confused as to why auto walkathon. Oh, inventory. Hello. Well, good. We got story catalogs. Because we can actually only have 3 stories of a type active at any given time, of different strength things here, but we actually have to at some point choose what stories we're sending out into the world and what we're not. We can't just tell any story at any time. And we met Quinn down here. John Henry is in here somewhere. We spend a while in the cool shade at this gas station. He knows 3 kids sitting beside their family car while their parents argue loudly with the cashier inside. The children seem embarrassed. You see the oldest brother lean over and distract his siblings with the story. He starts telling them a story about the 4 identical men, born to 2 different mothers, confuse themselves amongst each other. You realize almost instantly that he's telling a new version of the tale of the 2 men who mistook each other for his missing brother, with new, exciting, over-the-top details. He tells it well. When the parents come stomping furiously out of the gas station, you make yourself scarce, missing the ending of the boy's new story. The part you heard is definitely easy to remember. It'll stick with you for a while.
By nightfall,
Oh,
the
look, it's the Headless
hospitality
Horseman.
of this sleepy hamlet, combined with their superstitious tales, has both overstuffed your stomach and filled you with a hollow dread. Folks say these woods are full of apparitions, witches,
So,
and worse.
here's kind of the weird thing about some of these
You
stories.
curse yourself for getting on the road so
Right.
late.
A decent chunk of American tall tales, and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is one, are not actually tall. So instead of calling them folk tales, you could call them folk tales or fake tales, are two terms academics actually use. So instead of being an organic oral
In the
tradition,
moonlight,
they're instead
every
things that were
valley and
invented
hollow at the
by an
feet of the
individual
Tappan Zee seems
for a
like a
reason.
stolen shred of the abyss itself. Fireside tales seem less fanciful, and every cackling crow and moaning whippoorwill seems like a demon perched on the shivering, spindly trees.
But this is one of those. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is created by Washington Irving, and I believe 1832, I want to say, as part of one of his collections of short stories, and it enters American conscience almost immediately because it is super good. Alongside things like Rip Van Winkle, is another one that is invented by Washington Irving. Probably the
But something cuts
biggest
through
one
the noise.
is
The muffled
crap.
sound of hooves
Having started
galloping
talking,
on
I've
the
forgotten
cold,
what his
muddy
name
road.
is.
When he finally slows his horse alongside you, it's as though he had just appeared out of the mist.
There it is.
He's
Pecos
astride
Bill.
a gigantic black courser, and though his boots are muddy and ragged, he wears an immaculate coat with great shining buttons. From his saddle hangs an antiquated flintlock and a cavalry saber. In the darkness, you can hardly see above his towering shoulders. His voice is a rumbling croak, deep, but as though his throat is filled with thorns. Have you happened upon a cannonball around here? You can tell English isn't his first language. German is. His hand, so pale it's almost blue in the moonlight, grips the reins in a fist.
So are we brave or are we not? We could be very not brave if we felt like. Running the hell away would give us a Wanderer story, or this is the devil. So just different results to our stories, depending on what happens. We did almost move the Jersey Devil. Fair play, we did almost poop the Jersey Devil, so let's stick to our guns.
You mumble an apology and watch as he silently rides away, back into the mist. He's cloaked in black, you notice from behind, but the blood running down over his shoulders glints crimson in the moonlight.
Yep. So, yeah. As per Washington Irving's story, he's from the Revolutionary War, one of the mercenaries that helped out there, but his head got blown off by a cannonball. That sucks for him. Anyway, we could talk to Quinn again now we got some fancier
Hey,
stories.
traveler. Come to join my fire again?
Just for telling it, we got a little bit of progress. Eventually, if we just talk to him enough times, he will move
Well,
on.
I
but-
guess I know you well enough to let you set yourself down for a spell.
Hopefully
You
this time we
remember
can get a
Castle
little
Flip?
progress.
You want to hear more about my travels? Well, sure, why not? Nothing better than trading stories around the fire. And I got stories.
I got stories
Hey,
too.
do you got any really thrilling stories to
We
tell?
just got one.
I'm hankering for one of those.
We just got one. We got a couple actually. Let's see what we got here. Already told that story. Notice we can only tell one story. We can't repeat stories to people. But I'm pretty sure both of these kind of scary. So instead, well, the tanker cab seems at least peculiar, if not outright thrilling. So,
Well, that was a lively tale.
hey, he did like that one.
What's my future look like?
Boston is a weird place, turns out. That's the lesson we should take away from this.
I ain't looking for a traveling companion, if that's what you mean.
We already
I
heard
do
this
fine
bit
by
though?
myself. So just
We just
I
heard
want
it
to
a
hear a
little bit ago.
story about
Oh, good.
ghosts or murderers or something.
Scary stuff, eh? Come on, the devil. Bondage, traps, and imprisonment. This artwork is so good. I highly, highly, highly recommend you get this game
Spin
tomorrow.
a good yarn. I was shivering there for a little bit.
The
Traps
reason
and
why
such
I suggest that is each of these has a second piece of artwork associated with each character that you only see at the end of the game.
Well, one time in Fort Worth, a feller tried to take Cass and Flip away.
So he's been down to Texas.
Said a kid couldn't look out for him proper like. That they were fat in Fort Worth and they were going to the pound so that he could find him a good home. Well, before I could much argue, Flip bit the hell out of that busybody and Cass and I joined in shortly. I don't think I ever seen a fella so surprised. Guess I ain't going back to Fort Worth no more.
Yep. Taking
I
us
wanna
all
hear one of
back
them venturing
from
tales.
Fort
Got
Worth. Well, we can see if that counts as venturesome. I don't think it's venturesome, but I want to just tell him all these
Were
stories.
you trying to scare me?
Yeah,
well,
that's
you
kinda
didn't
scary.
go far enough. Wishes come true, huh? If I had to say, it'd be great to have red beans and rice cooked with some fatty bacon.
Well, pretty
Supposed to be a Mississippi River specialty, but I ain't never had it.
basic wish there, kid.
I want a story that scares me. Now I'm older, almost nobody can do it. Give me your best shot.
Well, Jersey Devil? Jersey Devil. They have to get to stage 3 before they actually get their name.
That's the stuff, stranger. Spooky campfire tales are my favorite. Sad. Well, so you think just
And we
'cause
heard
I'm...
this one
I don't
already.
need you looking after me. What you really ought to be asking... Hey, tell me...
And something exciting. Do we have something exciting? I don't think we do. And also notice we can only tell one per category. Nothing there. You already know that one, you already know that one. Well, so we won't learn anything new about him this time. Sadly. But we'll get him eventually. All
I
sorts.
usually like
all
the
sorts of
scary
topics.
stuff, but your story needed
Apparently
more
that
punch,
counts as
I
scary
think.
though. Though I suppose
Love
getting
stories.
chased by deceased ghost pigeons,
Folks sure seem to
would-
be eat up with the notion
would
of
actually be
love.
pretty scary.
Singing it? Not sure I see... Oh, heck.
Anyway,
Night's
he's
over
moving way up
already.
to Buffalo.
I sure enjoyed talking to you, but I gotta get on. The tramping life suits me just fine. With things being so depressed, folks walk
And
around like it's the end of everything
Since we
good.
got the
But it
eyeball
ain't.
there fully open, next time we
Plenty
talk
nice
to him,
things to see
he'll
if
tell
you
us
know where to
more
look.
and more different things. I won't do it on this stream for the sake of giving you guys lots of experience to talk about and to see. But we made progress, and now we have one of Quinn's adventures that we can just kind of use as a backup in case anything goes too weird. Anyway, having camped, let's camp again. Mason.
My twin brother Paul and I always got into trouble, but we were good. We didn't do nothing to anybody till we left. Then we hurt a lot of people. Me, more so than Paul, because he didn't make it through. The march
So-
I was on, the bonus army.
There it is.
less a bonus and more an acknowledgement of what I've had to suffer. Civilians will never understand.
So, Mason here is from 1932,
Do you know any happy
Again,
stories? Hopeful ones?
Depression era. I do know a happy story. The Blessed Lighthouse Sanctuary. Oh, what's up here? I didn't notice that one. Oh, that's Quinn the Ditches, okay. That should be helpful. Anyway, so,
I liked that one.
he served in World War
There's
One,
some hope left for you too, you know. Don't give it away too quickly.
and then the Bonus Army was a demonstration in 1932 to demand greater benefits for
Love?
the service that they did.
It was a real long time ago. Pulled a ribbon on her hair, her pigtails came undone, and she tattletaled on me. Never really tried after that. My brother Paul used to love scary stories. Tell me one.
We got some good scary stories. Let's go for the light in the sky near Boston. Get that one on the world again.
Paul used
See.
to love that kind of dark campfire stuff.
And we have finished up Mason's first chapter.
My wishes come true? Well, if I could wish for anything, it'd probably be for a nice, plentiful garden, away from everyone else. My own land, my own laws, my own you.
I know he's
Tell me a happy story.
you can not really see it,
Something to make the world seem kind.
but you can see, like, he's got a rough go. He's also missing his leg. His right leg has been blown off. That's part of why he's demonstrating, because the US government in the 1920s gave certificates that were kind of rewards, supposedly promises of cash compensation, but that didn't actually happen. And so a bunch of army vets, when the Depression hit, it's estimated somewhere in the vicinity of 15,000 World War I veterans went and marched on Washington to demand those certificates be turned into cash earlier than the original promise was, on account of no one had any money. That's a funny story, but that's not happy. Happy, you say? That's not happy. That's happy. But all these stories are out in the world, so I'm actually gonna,
For a moment,
after this, move on.
Just a moment. I felt better about it
But yeah,
all, too.
he is very rough.
The future's the issue, ain't it? Great War leaves us nothing to go back to. Plucking up the hope and leaving us only with the vile and the unforgiven. Tell me a happy story.
Oh, we'll at least tell a different one. I don't know. Which topic should we ask him about? Travel, the past, family, sadness, or bondage? Well, what should we actually ask him about? Because we can do at least a couple of topics. Well, I'm tempted to ask about the devil. We have one more story, so you guys can vote on that one.
I don't really scare at that stuff anymore. Sorry.
That's fair. World War One is far more terrifying than anything I
Imprisonment?
could tell him
The
about.
more days I check off, the more I'm convinced that birth is an imprisonment. I must eat, so I must have money. I must have money, so I must work. It's an inevitable prison. Do you know any happy stories? Hopeful ones?
What do you guys want to hear about? One of these. Now let's get travel. Let's tell Quinn's story. Focusing on the hopeful parts.
I like that one. Travel. Well, this walk feels like for a little bit of freedom now and again. The flowers along the road make for fine company. Here's the sun. I've got to go. I'm headed up the road this way. Will our paths cross?
Okay,
Days
fine.
come and go when the terrors return. They'll never be able to pay back what they owe me, but I'll always keep at 'em. What about you? Is there something somebody
Well,
owes you?
No, there's something we owe somebody, and it is, a lot of stuff, actually. A lot of things we owe somebody. Let's
The
explore
mailman's
DC.
uniform is dated and worn. He sits on the edge of the road, head in hands. He looks up as you approach. Can you help? Car clipped me. I think my legs... Well, I'd appreciate it if you could deliver this for me. He holds out a brown envelope. The letter's addressed to a James Gibson Sr., 120 J Street. But the city stymies you. The blocks run straight from I to K.
DC is a
He's
strange
stopping
town,
man
by
for
the way.
directions, but he shakes his head and laughs. Someone's playing a joke on you. There's no J Street.
If you've never been to DC, it is really weird, in my opinion, because where Boston has a problem of being unbelievably confusing, DC is frighteningly regular, at least DC proper is, because it is perfectly planned and perfectly square. And then they did weird stuff. But the main city, east-west is A, B, C, D, E, and north-south is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and it is perfectly regular and perfectly regulated, and it's weird.
Over here.
A woman in a brown coat overheard your question. She steers you down an alley. Someone's chalked a big orange J on one wall.
I thought Clovis was late. Go left up ahead. Old Man Gibson's the third on the right.
As you round the corner, the world changes. J Street is a place out of time. Like the city forgot an entire street a century ago and carried on around it, oblivious. Even the noise and bustle of DC can't penetrate this little pocket. The man who answers is ancient and stooped. He peers at the letter.
I think it's from my son. I don't see so well anymore. Will you read it to me?
You tear the letter open. It isn't good news.
Well, we could get another sad story, or we could get an Empress. I think we should be honest. Chat, we're gonna be honest.
He fights it, but his face crumbles. Tears roll down his cheeks. It's better to know. I've been waiting a long time for this. His shaking hand takes the letter. Thank you for telling me.
Yep. It's a very, very strange, very sad story. Wandered the streets of the city looking for a way to make some cash. Thankfully had no day work. Fine, we'll do that, I guess. We watched the dog and we have money now. We could buy an ice cream float, a coffee, a cola, or some scrambled eggs, or nothing, because we failed at getting hurt at all. Whoop, loading. Yup. Lots of sad stories. And, I mean, this game markets itself as a bleak American folktale, and I think it does that for a reason, because a lot of these stories are very much based on the oppressed. I mentioned in the part that anyone watching the VOD the part that got cut off due to tech issues, I mentioned that this game is explicitly leftist, and that's part of the reason is telling the American story without tales of oppression and of the people who were injured in the quest for the American Dream, as it likes to be called, is doing
The
a
edge of
disservice
summer
to the
has turned
American
the ocean
story.
choppy and misanthropic, and the skies miserably gray. The boardwalk prophetess lured you into her tent with a promise to read a fortune for free.
Heh,
Seems like business has slowed to a crawl already.
we shall sit at your
Before
table.
you lie the instruments of her profession. There's tarot cards, Rider-Waite, but also Marseille for traditionalists. Rosary beads and costume jewelry, and of course, the centerpiece, a great glass globe.
Well,
With
that
practiced theatricality,
this goes
she
well.
goes directly for the crystal ball, letting her eyes unfocus as though she can see a great distance into it. She brings up names, places, asks if you've known someone called John, if you have a relative in Newark.
We seem to be playing as a good person, by and large. Pretty brave, pretty decent. So we'll be a good sport about this, too.
You'll latch on to what she says, and together you dance towards some insights about your romantic prospects. It's relieving to meet an honest charlatan instead of the ghouls and ghasts of the road. You might even say you're having
Unluckily
fun
for her, she's not actually a charlatan.
until she abruptly stops talking. Your eyes, she says, her voice suddenly drained of the bassy drama that was her stock in trade. You've met him. You've seen him, too. You carry him with you. The words that come out of your mouth are not your own. They seem unwilling or unable to form properly out of a human throat. They're more like snarls, warning noises of a vicious animal.
Apparently she owed Sting a debt.
The glass globe shatters. Your vision is hazy, and your body is not your own. You came far to get away from me, the voice
Oh, I
lodged
didn't actually have
inside you
Sting's voice.
says.
Sad.
But this one has a way of wandering. The fortune teller has collapsed, cowering.
Yep, this is what we get for being a
Consider
good
your
person.
debt to me
Reed,
repaid.
this is why we don't do that on this channel.
When you come to your senses, you're lying face down on the rough wood of the boardwalk, sore and weak. An empty patch of wood, cleaner than the surrounding planks, is all that remains of the fortune teller's tent.
Well, having done that, actually let's get this new story as we continue wandering around Virginia in circles. Let's hear this story. Oh, well, here's one of the flaws of this game. This game does kind of repeat, eventually it starts repeating itself when you're just upgrading things. But the pigeon keeper has turned into something bigger and scarier. And we have a new friend. Hello, friend. Little Ben.
Sorry, friend, but I gotta ask you not to get no closer unless I can see your hands at all times. Look too clean to be one of us. But you don't look like the company sent you neither.
So, he's a Virginia coal miner who went on strike. And there's a very... I don't remember exactly which iteration of this strike it is, but there's quite a few where actually essentially the strike turns into a revolt that kills the company owner, and the strikers then
Alright,
get busted
my
up by
fire
the company
spell.
and their
Don't linger.
private
This hills
police.
is full of ears. Don't think just 'cause you can't see no one that you're safe.
And so he's someone on
I'll
the
give you
run
cornbread.
because of
Don't
that.
be so sure of me neither. See anything exciting out there on the road? Mostly I just seen dogs.
We've seen lots of exciting things. What's proper thriller? That's a curse, Mason. Well, that's sad these days. That's not Boston. The taxi cab in Boston's pretty excited. So yeah, we'll tell that and as
Brings
we make
me
progress.
back. There was a time when me and Big Ben could just enjoy exciting stories like this one. Innocent.
Yeah.
Dreaming about the future made me a wanted man. For now, I'll be glad just to get over the county line at dawn. Anyway, I need something to laugh about. You got any funny ones?
I got a funny one. I have a very funny one. Nope. Nope. There it is. Yeah, so that's not funny. That's not funny. That's not funny. That's not funny. None of those are funny. Neither of those are funny. Killer pigeons. He has super killer pigeons instead of them just being gray spookies.
Oh boy, you watch out now, I'll start chuckling.
And voila!
I remember looking between my mama's ankles down the road every evening. She'd be whispering. Still don't know if she were counting workers, praying about them. Can you tell me something sad? Sometimes you just want a story that goes with how the world already is.
And you know, we just got one, so a new sad story, away we go.
Damn, that one hurts. But it's a good hurt. The sorrow's one thing we all share.
Aww.
Sure, I know sadness. Sometimes I get to thinking that just because you're right doesn't mean you ever get your rights.
Yep.
Times like that, I feel like all them cold flakes are just settling in me. Like I'm gonna become part of the mountain's guts, one way or another.
Coal mining around the turn of the century was brutal. Private companies owned basically everything about it and functionally owned their workers' lives. It wasn't officially called slavery, but they'd be actually paid in not money. They'd be paid in wooden nickels that could only be used at the company store.
I've been running
so
to
it's fake
dogs
money
and guns.
for...
Tell me something happy.
Well, we won't. We need to move on for the sake of getting more game.
Morning. I gotta get going. Headed up that way. Won't be specific. For my safety and yours. If you want to find me, then do it. Talk again about these things.
Yeah. They
Oil ain't got no
had no
country.
rights,
Worker
functionally.
ain't
And
Worker ain't Virginian, ain't Christian, white, colored,
Yep.
Irish, Polish, nothing.
yep,
A worker is a worker. We all gotta work. If you're one of them, if you think I sound red, you best come out and say so. Get it over with.
well, let's heading back up toward Washington. We don't want to do that. We want to keep wandering our way down the coast, maybe. We're wandering somewhere. I'm not sure where we're wandering to, but we are sure wandering somewhere. I'm gonna try and get myself into trouble to get killed, but I don't know if we'll manage it. Here we're in the 1930s again, for the Dust Bowl. The man reads the newspaper with barely contained horror, his grimace spreading wider and wider as he makes his way down the page. Suddenly his frown cracks into something with a little more amazement in it. Whoa, he says. He reads out a story about the dead woman in the yellow ribbon. You're shocked. It's the story of the elegant woman in the small town with some bits changed. You think this really happened? He asked. Oh yes. For telling nonsense to me for sure, he says. The stuff they print these days. And voila, the elegant woman in the small town is now the dead woman in the yellow ribbon. Which, to be fair, she looked pretty well dead when we met her, so that's okay. Apparently that counts as growing. Oh, we'll keep having more events here. We've nearly made it to the North Carolina border, so it's about time that we cut inland instead of walking down the coast. We don't really need to get to Florida all that badly.
The path of the white deer. Its beauty strikes you at once. It is something otherworldly, beyond borders. A moon swimming in the void. Human shouts not far away break the spell. The deer's ears prick up. This thing is being hunted.
Well, let us help the deer, even though we think this is a
You
mistake.
know a way out of here. As the hunter's cries get louder, you approach the deer carefully, palms outstretched. As
This
you
is
grow
why we
close, your features become clearer in the light of the deer's aura. It bolts into the path of an oncoming train.
Welp, we tried. Sure tried. And no, the entire contiguous United States, so the 48, that in the 1930s would be all 48. Alaska and Hawaii weren't added until the 1950s. But it's got the whole continental US included on this map. And hopefully soon we should... There we go, we just hit it. We just hit a border between regions, though you can't super see it as we auto-walk our way to victory. I want to stop auto-walking, but I don't actually remember what the button is to do that.
Well, I'm gonna scroll my name on the bare bones of the earth. I'm gonna dig my heels into the ground.
Such good tunes. Anyway, earlier I mentioned someone who was the best case of a fake tale, or these things that have the characteristics of folk stories, except they aren't created by organic culture, but are instead created by individuals, often for economic reasons. The best case of that is Pecos Bill, who we'll meet in this. I think there's 3 stories about him, and but he was completely made up by a company in order to sell magazines. This one is crowded with people from every walk of life. Businessmen, young men in muddy overalls, and a crowd of girls in slinky dresses, carrying their blood alcohol content for a night on the town. There's the squat, sharp-eyed man with the door who catches your attention. He launches into a wild story about the lighthouse lamp, which is only burned in the presence of true love. Halfway through, he stops, recognizing the look on your face. You know this one? You tell him the story about the blessed lighthouse sanctuary where souls in love could find respite. That's it? I think I like mine more. So that's all I'll keep telling him my way, he says. Let's get another round and do a competitive test on the other folks here, shall we? By the end of the night, the whole bar agrees the new version is better. It might be because your new friend bought them all drinks. Well, so now that version has hit full strength. That is as good as that story gets, and that means it's really powerful.
No fence, gate,
But
or sign marks the
now I get a
entrance to the
cemetery.
cemetery. Just a moment ago, you weren't surrounded by graves, and now you are. How long have you been stepping on dead folks, fully unaware? A wood board, bleached white. Unknown. The word was painted on black by a steady hand, each letter signed with a flourish. Whoever made this memorial had more compassion than money.
And yeah, Kosek, I agree. I'm pretty sure Paul Bunyan is a legitimate folktale, and that follows much this road of start a reel and then gets embellished and embellished and embellished, while also Johnny Appleseed fits into
The other
that category
graves are the same.
quite well.
Unknown. 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 Handwritten. Nondescript. You walk for a while, reading every marker in sight, and not once do you find a name.
Spooky. So we're in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are heading inland as quick as we can in the hopes of getting into trouble there. Got 2 good hands, and old man calls a down tree is flat in his front yard, and his barge too. His 2 sweaty sons are chopping it into movable pieces. You throw the logs into the old man's cart. At least I can sell it for firewood, he sighs, tossing his coin. And we've got a new theme. This music is so good. It really, one of my favorite parts about this game is actually the music. and just how well it captures the flavor of we'll call it like a generic genre of oppressed music, but specifically it's like bluegrass or pure blues. And so some things are coming out of slave music genres, which is pretty cool.
The cave is really a man-made hole breaching into an earthen mound. The man, khakis dirtied by kneeling on the rough earth, has assembled a macabre little pile of skulls to the side.
Readying these for sale, friend.
He wipes his hands on his pants.
This pile of skulls, clearly claimed from his enemies by an Indian
Look at this
chieftain,
guy.
would
Holy
be perfect
charlatan.
for any cabinet of curiosities or sideshow attraction. Why, these skulls belong to no one. They're just here, lying under this mound, waiting for an enterprising soul to make something of them. Isn't this what America's all about?
Something like
Little
that, dude.
sunlight reaches that deep in, but you can still see the skeletal remains, their heads carelessly removed, laying neatly in their excavated resting places, each one lovingly surrounded by stone effigies.
So,
earthenware,
vandalism
and
of
copper
native
plates
sites
in the shape
happened all
of
the
winged
bloody time.
warriors.
This might actually be Mississippi civilization. I'm not familiar with the material culture from this area, but yeah.
You pause and consider this small man, greedily arranging someone's remains as though they were a trinket for a mantelpiece.
Leander, I think you put it pretty well.
You've half a mind to kick him onto his ass. And having made that clear to him, he scurries off like the mole he is, much to your relief. It's the least you can do.
Yeah. Enterprising jackass. Going in and just destroying an archaeological site, destroying a native site, a place of cultural significance to living people. I'm sure you have heard it before on this channel, you will hear it again, but one of the primary things about dealing with the past in any form, interaction or otherwise, is to make sure that you're treating them with respect. Because they were people, and that sure is not treating them with respect.
You find yourself in a
And we are in
poker
the Great
game
Depression.
on the third floor of the Winecoff Hotel. Sometimes these things just happen. The man
Well,
with the burned
the last
face
time
to
game
your
went well
left,
for us, right?
he never gave his name. Growls at the smiling man seated on your right. You ain't got the stomach. I killed men for lessons in that pot. Smiler plays on and takes the hand. The burned man bares his teeth. This hand comes down to the burned man and Smiler. Walk away, boy, says the burned man. Smiler drops his grin. I ain't your boy, Roy. Roy's eye twitches. Smiler outplays Roy again, and a new hand comes around.
Well, that went, poorly. This
You've
will
got
probably...
an okay hand. Not a world beater, but not nothing.
We'll press our luck.
For a moment, you think you have it. But Smiler calls and you're outclassed. Roy's
We lost some money,
preoccupied
but-
and has to be nudged into dealing. You finally hit a decent hand. Roy is still staring at Smiler. What'd you say your name was?
I didn't, but it's Jackson.
Jackson,
What a long story.
beats Roy.
This poker
I
game
knew
is
a Jackson
going
once.
significantly better for us than the
There's a
last one did.
fierce look in Roy's eye. You played it just right. You take the hand and the lion's share of the chips on the table. Smiler
Well,
cusses.
luckily
Roy cashes out and slips
we
away.
stopped it before it got too wild.
You play a few more rounds, but that hand practically sewed up the game. As you leave the hotel, you smell smoke
But Well,
You cross the street and look up.
Roy may have committed arson.
Flames have engulfed the third floor, where you played the game. The fire spreads hungrily. People are leaning out of windows on the floors above, but you can't see any way to help.
Yep. So that's not great. Those people are just dead. Unfortunately, in the 1930s, part of the response to help push for better fire safety is the response to fires like that, but also like the Flatiron fires that suggest to people, like, maybe giving people ways to get out of a burning building is kind of important, instead of just cramming them all in there and just building up and up and up and up with no way down. We'll panhandle for a bit, but unfortunately, no luck for us. Dang it, we're not having any luck on the getting ourselves into trouble. Luckily, I think we'll keep going for a while longer since tech issues sort themselves out. We'll go for another 45 minutes, but I can begin anew, which hopefully will just kill me, and I can show the beginning on this VOD for the sake of everyone at home who had to deal with all the, instead of being cut off from all of the awful bad luck that we got in tech issues at the beginning. But how are you guys enjoying the game so far?
Electric lamps stipple the cotton field before you with an orange light, moving like a group of lethargic fireflies. From the field, the voices of the workers reach you in a soulful, united song. You're gently lulled to sleep as the song floats over you. Hello, Lordy, pick a bale of cotton. Hello, Lordy, pick a bale a day. You're pulled out of your slumber by a woman's pained scream and a collection of shouts rising from the field. The woman's screams taper off, soon replaced by the raw cries of an infant. Applause briefly fills the night, eventually fading back into song. Oh, Lordy, you wake up to the gentle crescendo of the worker's song, unsure if it ever ceased at all.
Yeah, it communicates, I like that description though, it communicates this Depression era discouragement at life, and one that I think is echoed in the present situation pretty
A
well.
sign in town
But
says
also,
a farmer is hiring for
there's
the
no
sugar
shortage of
cane
happy
harvest.
stories buried in the depths of
bag-eyed
this.
man drives you and 10 hungry strangers out into the cane, where he leaves you. Everyone gets a hatchet, but no instruction. The foreman is missing for some reason. Nobody is sure what to do. A young man in a red jacket stuffs all the hatchets in his pack. "This is stupid," he says. "I'm leaving. You can get $5 for a nice axe like this." He marches off into the cane and others follow. "Don't!" a young woman shouts after them. "It's not right."
Let's keep being good
The
people.
thief left some hatchets behind, so you and the 3 chumps left start chopping cane. It's brutal work. None of you know what you're doing. "Keep going," the girl calls. Her hands are bleeding, and her face is bright with sweat. Soon, her cane is piled high. Sometime after noon, the truck rolls up with a boozy foreman riding shotgun. "Good work," he croaks. The girl wipes her blood-pinked hands on her apron to take her pay, but doesn't notice the crumpled body in the back of the truck, or the hatchets heaped beside it.
So aren't you glad we decided to be a nice person for a change and do the right thing? Every once in a blue moon, it pays off for us. What's going on over here? I see a thing, but I don't know what it's doing. Hello, search the place. Two musicians taking over. Billy's quit. Our show's in 5 minutes. You play the upright bass? You don't. Doesn't matter. Keep looking this drink. Look, we'll pay. You're paying for a couple songs, feeling like an idiot, but hey, you get paid.
Well, I'm gonna heft my spade.
So we got two more friends here to talk to. I'll show one of them, but then I'm kind of trying to just wander and see how far we can get. Because while we are having issues with loading, I want to at least get through a little bit more of this and head up farther inland, farther to the center of the country. We won't get into the southwest totally, but we can at least get into probably the midwest decently. And we can meet the blues singer, Althea.
I wanted to be the best blues singer in the world. By God, I was. I was born a poor girl in Memphis, Tennessee. No father, he run out. No mama either. She was there, but she weren't there really. All alone but for my Uncle Richard, my baby brother Marcus. All alone but for the guitar. Ooh, how about a story about the dark and scary things in the world?
Dark and scary. Well, we got a decent number of those these days. No world. That's sad. Those are sad. Twins, no. Sadness. Nay. Or Mason Lost. Oh, you know, let's tell this one. The thing that we personally ourselves kind of sort of do.
Ooh, now. That's in
Yeah,
shivers
I would
up
agree,
my
Leander.
spine.
And you can see there's some performance issues. I do hope that the DLC, Gold Mountain, actually has a little bit more about it
Yeah, I heard
and
stories
fixes some of
about
those issues.
fate.
I don't know. It should. I know it's more stories, more variety of events available. I think
Man,
it's actually new people too.
you told me with my voice and my songs, I was gonna be a star. Ooh, now I'm in the mood for a story with a bit of that tragedy to it.
Tragedy, eh? How about that anonymous grave? That's pretty tragic.
That's like a song, pretty and sad. I wasn't one to accept death. To live beside it, that wasn't my way. Now, I told myself I was running away to take care of my brother Marcus. But I was just running. Ooh, how about a story about the dark and scary thing?
More scary stuff, eh? Well, that was just sad. Nope. Back. You know, Jersey Devil's a good classic. But yeah,
Oh, that's a scary one. I got stories about sadness.
Althea's
Something
story,
that my
well,
mama just broke when my father left. Couldn't get her to eat most days, let alone feed me and my brother. Ooh, now
nah, we're just gonna exit this time because we've filled our goal here. We've
the sun is up.
for
One
the sake
more
of showing
night
you guys
gone.
more of the game, I'm gonna
I
do
need to be going. If you
a
want to
little
hear
bit more,
more
but
about
she's
the
gonna
deal
wander
I
off
made,
downtown.
you can look for me up the road this way.
Yeah, she made a deal with someone who basically sold her
I was
life
about 25 when I
the
left my
stake
first
of
record
the
contract. No more richer
record
than I
company?
was before. Those men took me around like a freak show. Me and my guitar and my sad songs. I didn't know what to do once I was free again. Alone, drinking my sorrows. That's where the devil found me.
And yeah, she's really not lying about that being the devil. But so far, pretty much everyone has been plausibly depression era. The reason I'm heading actually down here again into Alabama is because if that was Althea, I know who this one is, and this is one that's not plausibly depression, and kind of communicates the weird out-of-time nature of some of the things in this game a little bit. This should be who I'm looking for. And then, yeah, well, actually, may as well cut straight across to Texas and just keep going that way. And then, after that, when we get into there, and, yep, we get to hear Shaw's story,
I take a look at you and figure we're heading to the same place. You've been walking a long time, same as me, trying to find where you fit.
Well, there's one near Chicago that's interesting, actually.
You ever wonder if that
We
place
may
don't
try and cover
exist?
all the way.
No shame in it, I do. Plenty of time I wonder if I'd just walk forever. You start to
So we
wonder,
may go up there and get
How did I get
to
here?
the,
when you're alone, all you have is all this time. Time to trace some
yeah, I think
lines
we'll
back
do
to
that.
where things started.
Go from the one of the oldest stories, though not quite the oldest, to one of the youngest.
You know any good scary stories? Or see something spooky on your way?
Sure did. Killer seagulls? Or, no, where are they? Killer pigeons. Killer pigeons are in fact quite scary.
Damn, that's a good one. Well, as far as love stories, I mostly love work. Working the land felt natural. Felt good. It was the work
So-
itself, the labor, the sweat. And knowing that I could point at it and say, that's mine. You got any good happy stories? Where things work out for someone, maybe?
Happy stories, eh? Huh. Yeah, the cornfield sounds good. And World is a good choice for Shaw.
That was a good one. Wish I could have your stories around when I'm in a dark place, you know? Wishes come true. My father was born a slave.
So yeah,
Died free.
he's from the post-Civil War period.
I was born free. And as a young man, I still felt like I was dying a slave.
So I
tell me a
guess
sad
by this
story.
point he could be from the
Sad and true, okay?
reasonably in the 1930s, but by and large, he's probably born in the 1870s, 70s or 80s. But a sad true story, eh? That's horror, that's horror. Yeah, the white deer. That's definitely sad.
Body and soul. No one would say my father was free. Sometimes I think about whether my father would find my life
But
all that different
yeah,
from his.
he lived most of his life as a sharecropper.
But anyway,
And
you
in the,
know any good true tragedies? I feel like one of those tonight.
some of the consequences of, well, of the failure of Reconstruction and the, or the, I should say, the intentional undoing of a lot of the Reconstruction practices in the 1860s and 1870s
Change.
is that things,
When
by
I
and
was a young
large,
man, it took
return to
a
look a
while
lot
for me
like
to
this,
accept that
and
all things
enslaved-
changed. When I did, I leaned into it hard.
well, the lives of Black Americans, particularly under sharecropping, were not a whole lot different than lives of
Sometimes
enslaved
you need
Black
to
people
salt the earth to get
prior
where
to
you
the Civil
go.
War.
But anyway, you know any good true tragedies?
More tragedies. Well, justice. Justice, do you have any? I will try that, though that's horror more than sad.
Trying to scare
Yep.
me.
What do you
Ain't
know?
working. Some folks have choice. Sometimes you have options, but no choice. You understand? Sometimes you're told you could do anything, but there's only one thing to do.
And there it is. Kind of one of the promises of Reconstruction was actual equality and giving Black people the ability to have lives other than working as laborers.
Here's the sun. I got to get going.
That
My route
is
goes up
dramatically
this way.
different from reality,
But I sure
and the
did
reality
enjoy
under
talking to you.
sharecropping was often not pleasant.
It's probably the kind of story you've heard a million times. Down on your luck, need work, take whatever you
Hey,
get.
that's our story, except we have more spooky ghost
How
stories.
about you? Does my life sound familiar?
Cast my stones o'er the
Let's try and get up to Chicago.
waters of this
We're
land.
gonna have to go this way and go this way fast.
I'll see them far and long.
Whoa.
When the night
And we can go whistling, and that lets us walk faster. For some reason. Unfortunately, that screwed up the performance quite badly, but you know, that's okay. We're working our way back. So Tennessee, okay, we can get into Arkansas and then into Missouri. Let's get talk this story. Okay.
We need a sixth.
She told you, beckoning from the steps of a great dark mansion. And just like that, you found yourself sitting with strangers around a velvet-draped table. Her voice is reedy and high, modulated by the tight collar of her Victorian dress.
Join hands, everyone.
Your host keeps her eyes closed as she beseeches the spirits of the dead. But everyone else around the table lets one lingering, awkward glance bounce around between them.
It's not actually my computer this time. My computer is not running fast at all. It is just the game. The game itself struggles to render things if they move too fast.
Thump beneath the table. The whole table starts to shake, threatening to lift right off the ground. And then, the staid candle flames start flickering like mad, casting ghastly shadows on the walls. And then, a viciously cold wind cuts through the parlor like sharpened ice. The damned candles are dancing in mid-air around you now, singeing a hair here and there off the coiffed heads of these well-heeled guests. You notice your host across the table has her eyes open wider than they should go. A rivulet of blood dripping from her nose. When you come to your senses, sunrise has begun to creep in. The parlor is empty, but for you and the woman in the old-fashioned dress, who slumped dejectedly over the table.
He didn't show up. All that sound and fury, and no sign of his spirit.
How are we doing on rest? Looks like we're low on it. If he's complaining, nope, it's full of on rest. Damn it! I tried to get myself killed. Oh well, let's give us a story.
Peabody Hotel. The words adorn the exterior wall, each letter the size of a window. The lobby is upholstered furniture and gold chandeliers, but such luxury is a mere accessory to the centerpiece. A travertine marble fountain in which 5 ducks swim. A handsome bunch of feathered fellows, all having a nice time in the water. A bellman in a blue cotton uniform, black cane cupped in his hands, takes notice of your interest in the waterfowl.
Would you happen to be here to witness the duck march?
A wide smile crosses the bellman's face.
Oh, a newcomer. Well, this is a little ceremony I introduced. Every day I march these babies into the elevator all the way to the roof. Then I march them back down to this fountain.
The bellman gestures toward the closest duck. You notice now, the ducks have had their flight feathers trimmed, though their beauty remains intact.
No.
That's good. Don't look so concerned. I spoil them rotten. The feathers will grow back.
If you say so, dude. The bellman checks his silver stopwatch. It's time.
The bellman taps his cane on the marble. Right away, the ducks honk up a frenzy and hop out of the fountain. They beat the water out of their wings and waddle toward the elevator, guided by the bellman's cane. Magnificent. What sweet, gentle creatures.
The dogs are great. Oh, let's go. We can go to St. Louis, but we actually paid our fare, and so we're out of money. But we're in St. Louis.
It's nearly Christmas. Many are drinking liberally. A man staggers up from a downstairs bar and falls over the top step. Help me! You can barely hear his voice over the traffic. For God's sake, help! People tug at the man's drunken state. A woman tosses a coin at him without even
And
looking.
also got shot.
The drunk clasps at his gut and looks straight at you. Help me. Please. He lifts his hand from his stomach. His palm is red with blood. You press a cloth on the wound, and he hisses with agony. Another man strides up the stairs, laughing. He looks at the bleeding man, sweeps his Stetson off in a theatrical bow.
Get
then
away to the
turns
west,
to you.
alright?
You best mind your own.
Very much, this kind of fits into what Tall Tale ideas of
He steps forward,
West.
smiling toothily. He twitches his jacket up and rests his hand just above a pistol. Good evening to you. Tipping his Stetson in a gesture of farewell, he walks fast, but not fearfully, and does not look back.
In some western towns, actually, visitors were required to check their guns in with the sheriff when they arrived in town, for precisely this reason, to prevent everything turning into the big shootouts you imagine from television as part of the cultural conscience and the story promulgated by Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and other such traveling shows more than historical reality.
The bleeding man collapses into a fetal position. His clothes are saturated, and a bloody puddle has formed around him. There's nothing you could have done to save him. You could speak to the police, but you didn't see the killing blow.
A problem. Well, let's look for some work. These are definitely body bags. Don't worry about it. Or not. Okay, we can't go up to Chicago yet, but because we have no money, we're gonna try. Where are we? Over the Illinois border. Let's head up onto the Illinois border and head up towards Chicago. As long as we're walking on a road, we can also, where is it? One of these. If anyone's driving past us in the same way we're going, they may actually decide to give us a hand. Though it just led to the next chunk a bit awkwardly, and we should be on. Oh, well, that's heading out to Indiana. Should head north actually. In the hopes that someone's heading there it is. There's our destination, way up there. Heading along classic Route 66. You notice there's some famous US highways out here, but not a whole lot. And the music just changed again as we hit Illinois. Such good music. Communicates the feel of the burgeoning jazz scene of 30 Chicago. So good. This is basically my own neck of the woods too. I lived in Chicago for 4 years, so this is very much my own neck of the woods too. I love this music so much.
There's a truck parked here. The driver mistakes your look for curiosity.
You want to see something interesting?
He asks, pointing to the trunk. He opens it. There's hundreds of metal tubes with little numbered screw-on caps sorted in wooden racks.
We've been
What have we
surveying,
got here?
He said.
He's
My
where's
job
the
to study
USGS?
soil health. The trunk has a map taped to it, marked with numbered dots.
I can show you the one from your hometown if you see it here.
We're not
He
from anywhere.
grins.
You too? I got a special one for our kind.
Vial 1 comes out of his pocket. It holds a crumble of green-blue luminous earth,
What the heck?
like sea glass lit from below.
Spooky.
I don't remember being
This
there.
one I assume is from
Can
Innsmouth?
you?
He asks, peering into your eyes.
No. No. You can't either.
Shame. We've been a lot of places, but that ain't one of them. Yep, and here we get Cassidy.
I've met a lot of people like you on this road. There's something you want from it, isn't there? A desire that scratches and scrapes away at the sides of your body. Does being out here feed that part of you? It's that way for me. Living in a state of motion, resting nowhere, returning to no one.
If you're familiar with jazz, like, this is not so much 30s jazz. This is far more 50s.
I've been a wandering ghost for a while now, and I'll be that way for some time to come. But that's a fate I should have known I was in for. I'm a poet, after all.
He's very much in the tradition of Jack Kerouac, and On the Road, and the
Sometimes
realm
I
of the
want to
beat
hear a
poets.
sadness that resonates with my own. Do you know any stories like that?
Proper sad, eh? Yeah, the white deer. That should count.
That one is like getting locked out in the cold with nothing but your sorrow. I liked it. Freedom. Sometimes I feel like I don't know how to use it. When I consider my situation in the mornings, I mean, soberly, I know there's no way to bring things back to the way they were. I think I'll just find my own path. Surely, that's what's meant to happen now that I'm no longer bound to anyone. But how can I? That group was everything I knew.
Yep.
I was
You know,
cast adrift by what happened, and I can't come to rest.
his sadness is very different from the rest of them. Still very human, but it's not mired in these huge class conflicts or the experience of being oppressed by a company or military service or being rough raw by big, huge systemic things, and more of just the smaller tragedies of
Sometimes I want to
friendships.
hear a sadness that resonates with my own. You know any stories like that?
We got lots of sad stories, man. Yeah, that one should be sad.
The tragedy in that story, it's real. Have you ever tried writing poetry? I had a family. We were close. Me and Jess and Deborah, even Pauline. We had a shared goal in the world. When I think about any of them now, though, I can feel poison rising in my chest. They didn't do anything wrong. They're all still grand folks. It's just that the situation with Silas ruined my attitude towards them, too. Being jilted plays a mean trick on your capacity for love. Sometimes I want to hear a sadness that resonates
He really likes his sad stories, man. Well, so, we'll tell him about Mason. These guys are wild turns, so you are
It's like
really
getting
good for
locked out
progression,
in the cold with nothing
but
your
they
sorrow.
won't get you all your
I
stories
liked it.
upgraded. Because
Change. I've seen a lot of change. Everything. Everyone I thought I had is gone.
properly true stories, as defined by this game, as the character stories rather than the weird things that may or may not be due to Direwolf's influence. Those are ones that don't evolve because they are part of our history in a way that folk culture isn't. It's a really interesting dichotomy it produces.
Our friend
It's not one
Pauline, she had a big house and a
I
husband
don't
who
know I
often
agree
wasn't
with it.
around, so naturally, that's where we went for readings. We were wild, radiant, sweaty, alive. All kinds of people came and all of them were poets. All of them with such beautiful souls. Each with so many things to say and the true heart to share them. Hard to believe that's all gone now. Sometimes I want to hear a sadness.
Nope, we are just gonna exit, dude.
I miss the old group. I really do. I still have that image in my head. Pauline's house, the poets, Jess, me. But on top of them all, there's Silas. In my memory, he looms, he haunts. You ever meet someone so far above everyone else? It's like they were from a different plane altogether. That was him. A divine presence among normal human beings. Silas was part of the group, but at the same time, he wasn't. He was better than any of us. Wiser, gentler, stronger. We all held him in respect. We were in awe of his power as a writer, in reverence for the beauty of his soul. I still love him. Look, I'm headed out this way. If you find yourself out there, maybe we'll meet again.
Okay, and there's that thought lesson. Okay, what I want to check, well, having done all of that, what I want to check is hopefully beginning anew will start us properly at the beginning. So I can run that again for all the tech issues instead of having to try and splice the laggy videos together. Start you from the very beginning. So, having gotten a taste of this game, let's go contemplating and go say hi to Stink again. To repeat it as we roll back to the beginning, this is Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, developed by Dim Boulder Games, led by Bjorn Nordhagen. And the reason we're playing this here, you've got a pretty good idea of it, and it's kind of dreary but also joyful look at American folklore and history, is that starting
Night has
tomorrow.
fallen and you're weary from travel. Stars fill the sky above, and in front of you is a brightly lit wooden house, the only building you've seen for days.
Starting tomorrow, and by tomorrow I mean Thursday, for anyone catching the VOD, it will be free on the Epic Games Store for a week. So, looks like we are starting to get a little bit of lag, but hopefully that plays nice, so we can
You
get
walk
this
toward the house,
reasonably.
hearing the sounds of laughter and talk as you reach the door and push it open.
Yeah, I highly recommend this. I don't super necessarily agree with the idea that the tall tales, I should
You
say,
sit down and
are
join the game. It's a cheap
distinct from
buy-in,
history.
and not many of the other players are very good.
Part of the reason for that is just that all stories evolve over time, even true ones, and there's a lot of academic theory around how stories are remembered, what stories get emphasized, which ones don't. But kind of looking at it from the 21st century, looking back into the 20th and the 19th, and kind of look and see, we've got our grand narrative of American history. It's what we learn in elementary, middle, high school way too often. And these stories tend to get left out or glossed over very briefly instead of explored in their tragedy. And for it doing that while also acknowledging the ways that an oral culture shares stories and how that exists alongside history, though as something distinct from it, is one of the things that makes me as a scholar and as a player just adore this game despite its admittedly limitations, fairly limited way of developing stories, repetition, and performance issues.
The lady fiddling with dice gets good cards, but has no real strategy. The man to your right seems to just hold on to the highest cards he has, regardless of suit or any consideration of matches. The man in gray across from you, though, he's good. He already had the largest pile of coins when you bought in, and while your winnings grow quickly, you can't quite catch him.
Huh. There must be something about this beginning, just really screws with the frames. So I'm sorry if you guys are getting lag, but hopefully, since it's just text, you guys can at least see and hopefully hear some of it.
One by one, the other players leave the
I
table.
really don't know what to do about that.
Sometimes with pique, or with wry humor, leaving their winnings with you or the man in gray.
But hopefully at least some of these cutscenes work. But we do have the very best hand in the map. In
Finally,
the game. So
it's just
should
you
be fine,
and
right?
the man in gray.
No way we get turned into a skeleton
He
to go
looks
wander
at
around
you,
and be a hobo.
full of humor and winks. Last hand. He deals, you draw, and look at your hand. It's good. It's great. The best hand, in fact. A royal straight flush. Spades. Aces high. But the man in gray pushes forward his whole pile. You're not sure exactly how much it is, but it's more than you've got.
Huh.
You can't match that.
I'm surprised that you think it's okay, Kosik, given that OBS just gave
The
me a
man in
warning
gray
of
stops you.
98% skipped frames.
Now, if you like, I'll let you wager your word. I know you'll be good for it. Just promise you'll pay the debt, however I ask. The man in gray smiles. All right, then. I'll call.
But your great thing looks super good, but you add your blood. We're still a normal human, not the skeleton we were wandering around. But all of a sudden, he cheated very hard. And hello, Direwolf.
Well, your luck wasn't so good, was it? That's quite the hand, but not for the game we're playing. I'm afraid you owe me. Your life, sure, but more than that, your labor. You see, this land is built on stories. It's one big story, this country, woven of many small ones. Few of the small ones are strictly true, and the big story is mostly a lie.
Which is not a, this is not a positive look of textbook American history, but it is something worth remembering, especially going into what's going on in 2020. I feel free to be explicitly political here, because there is a lot of nostalgia going on, especially in the far right, for a past that never was. It is pure nostalgia for this story that is a lie. As Sting very nicely points out for us, the story we learned about the time that is quote-unquote great never existed. And by looking at the oppressed people and marginalized people that you see throughout this game is a really good way to cause us to empathize with people who aren't ourselves and
All the
try and
stories
deal
and
with that big
songs
lie.
and myths and legends start somewhere, with a seed. As they're told and retold and passed around, they grow and change to become the stories we know. To pay your debt to me, you'll be carrying stories, finding the seeds first and then spreading them, telling them onwards so they can begin gaining strength. This is no light task. Stories are heavy.
Yeah, stories are also really culturally important. Obviously, I did not go into at all in this stream any of the issues of oral tradition or anything else on theory about that, because for the purpose of this game, it's a little bit overkill, to be honest, and it has been a while since I have read Albert Lord's Singer of Tales, but there is a lot going on here with the training and the promulgation of stories, and I don't know I fully agree with the claim that all stories start with a seed based in reality, but they undoubtedly grow and change and develop variants over time. Even for mythological texts or legends, to use classic Norse example, the big one of Sigurd and Falkistani, the Nibelungenlied and Volsunga Saga both exist, and they're vastly different stories, telling the same thing, which is at least proof that they do change and evolve, though the exact ways this game does not model perfectly.
Most of the stories you'll find will be small seeds. They might be true, but they'll grow wild and unbelievable with the telling. The more important stories are the true ones, the ones people will tell you about their own lives. Those often get lost in the weaves of the big story. The more true stories you can find and tell, the more you can weave that truth into the big story. Tarnish it a bit perhaps, but isn't a dingy and battered truth better than a shining lie?
I do love that line
No.
so much.
Go ahead. You tell me a story. I'll trade you some information about your task.
And here is where we will leave off with the stream for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I apologize for the tech issues at the beginning, but we got sorted out, and we got to see the beginning again a little bit better this time. So, if you like this game, do send some love to Jonas Nordhagen, who is the creator of the game, and go support this by picking it up tomorrow on the Epic Games Store. This game was a commercial failure, which I think is a huge shame, because this game is excellent in terms of what it does, and as someone who does history and likes history in games, this is such an interesting take on it that I think it is absolutely worth it. If this is the kind of content you guys like, go play this for yourself and go find the other, I don't know, what, 10 stories we missed, or that I did not show in this, and all of the details about those people's lives that have been lost. The team who worked on this is all fabulous people, and clearly, like, this game is something special, even if it's a bit rough in its presentation. Anyway, apologies for the things cutting out, but if you like this, I'm going to do the usual ending spiel. If you like this game, do consider joining my Discord server, which is there in the chat, and follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to the YouTube channel where this VOD will go, to be notified of when the next stream happens, because Twitch is very bad at giving me community options to interact with you guys. And additionally, the next stream will be on Saturday, and we'll be having our concluding part to A Plague Tale: Innocence. So more alchemical nonsense, and going and figuring out what that macula, that disease that Hugo has, actually is, and hopefully learning a little bit more about their kind of thoughts about the plague, and the Black Death's impact, and the religious fervor. I'll try and do some reading on religious responses to the Black Death to be able to talk about that in the end, though they definitely lean into the stereotypically super evil church, so I don't know how relevant that'll actually turn out to be. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your days. Leandro, obviously you just woke up, so enjoy your morning. But yeah, everyone else enjoy your evenings, and I will catch you all on the next one.